Kentucky, they got a quarterback. They got themselves a quarterback. I'm Nick Roush. He's Adam Luckett. KSR is back for rapid reactions because this is a big one. This is a big, big, big one. Brock Vandagriff, former five-star prospect, number 22 player in the 2021 recruiting class. Look, I'm getting a little dyslexic sometimes with the 2022, 2021, but one of the best players 3 years ago. He spent 3 years at Georgia. Can't crack the starting lineup with the Dogs. Now he's on the move and he will be a Wildcat. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about this, Mr. Luckett. I love the fact that we had the name Brock Vandagriff circled for over a year, right? We were kind of talking about him this time last year. And he hops into the portal, and within 48 hours, he goes ahead and shuts it down. He's going to be a Kentucky Wildcat.
Nick, you got to be tired, my man. Like, you're just going nonstop. I've been down in Jacksonville just having a good time, playing some golf, watching Jake Browning turn into Joe Montana, and we've got all kinds of stuff going on. Head on a swivel season. Kentucky gets their guy, and I think there's a couple things here that really stand out to me. The first things first is Vandagriff has 2 years of eligibility left.
Huge.
So
Huge.
I think when Kentucky was making their pros and cons list for the next starting quarterback, I think that was maybe number one on the pros list. Number one, full stop. And so that made the talent pool, I think, smaller when they were looking at guys. Number two, before the Louisville game, we heard Liam Cohen pretty much say, I need to modernize this offense. Just full stop. Playing faster, I think. You go back 2 years ago, Nick, on 11 personnel. I talked about you gotta run the quarterback. You gotta run the quarterback in college football. If the guy can run, you gotta run him. I think you started to see him figure that out with with Will Levis, and you really saw that kind of get putting. They hit the turbo button, I think, with the offense once they got that QB run going. That just wasn't an option with Devin Leary. It wasn't his skill set. I think they're going back to that. Vandagriff can help them play faster. I think you're going to see zone read. I think you're going to see scrambles, Q draw, Q power. He can do all of that stuff. And then third, we've kind of alluded to this. You look at the successful transfer quarterbacks, Nick. A lot of them have been former blue chip guys that just needed a fresh start somewhere. Now, with Vandagriff, he doesn't have the playing time that a Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, guys like that had, but he could be like a Haynes King at Georgia Tech. Haynes King couldn't hold on to a starting job at A&M, only played a little bit. He goes to Georgia Tech, and that was the best quarterback season Georgia Tech has had in their program. I mean, in a long time.
Triple option time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before you're talking way back, probably 90s. And so I think it's a roll of the dice here, but I think they like what Vandagriff brings to the table, what his skill set is, and what they're going to try to do with this new offense. I think he fits everything they're going to want. Then we'll have to see if it pays off, but they have their guy for 2 years, and they have a contingency plan now. And this is why you're paying Liam Cohen $1.8 million this next year. You got Vandagriff for 2 years. You got Cutter Boley coming in. You got Stone Saunders. And when Vandagriff moves on, you're going to have a legit quarterback competition, I think, with Boley and Saunders. But not only that, Nick, you're going to know because you'll have both of those guys in your system for at least a year. But when the time comes, at least as of right now, where you'll know if you'll need to go get another transfer or if one of those guys is ready. So it's a big – he's kind of a stopgap in a lot of ways. He gives you a 2-year plan, and then you have plans – running it out to the future. So I think it's a really good moment here for Kentucky. Now they got to develop him and turn him into a good player.
Yeah, and I spoke with Rusty Manziel yesterday, who, if you haven't checked that interview, do that after you hear us talk, because he's recovered Georgia recruiting for decades. He met Brock when he was in 7th grade. Son of a coach, right? A guy who's built well, who's got the arm, who's got the mobility, has all the right tools. And the way that Rusty put it too, a lot of what you wanted to see more from him was just to see more from him, right? He needed more snaps, and the limited snaps he got, he was kind of trying to play catch up. He was pressing. He's going to finally have the luxury of knowing, like, all right, I'm the quarterback, I'm the guy, and now let's see how he can develop, how he can prosper, because there is a very high ceiling here, a very high ceiling. You see the zip on that ball, just the raw athletic traits, and that's why the Will Levis comps aren't going to be crazy, because I mean he may not be quite as big. He doesn't look like a tight end, right? But it's very similar in a lot of ways where he can run the ball. He's got a big arm, and the 2 years of eligibility coming from a traditional powerhouse program.
I think the Levis comp, he's got the physical traits, number one. I don't know if he's got the high level traits that Levis does.
Yeah,
But I think
I want to see a video where we can hear where he's in like some indoor and we just hear the ball going. Phoom, phoom.
I don't think that,
We need one of those YouTube clips.
I don't know if we'll see that, but I think he is more of a fluid, I would say, runner with the football in the zone read game. Or Levis was more of a north-south,
Run your ass over.
Going to run through your chin strap runner. He's even doing that in the NFL. You saw him hurdle on Sunday. He's still doing some of the kamikaze stuff. But I think Vandagriff's a little smarter as a runner, and I think he's going to fit more. He's just I would say he's a modern kind of spread quarterback, Nick. Can make a plethora of throws. Is good in secondary action plays, making plays off script. He's got a throw in the Kentucky game where he scrambles and hits the guy down the field. That was, really impressive. Really impressive kind of throw. And so our guy Connor Garrett already has the comp to him. He's like Southern Will Levis.
Will Levis, yeah.
By all accounts, Nick, he's kind of a character. Not necessarily a character, but he's into hunting.
Yeah.
He's into a bunch of other things. And leadership was another quote Cohen gave us, right?
Mm-hmm. That was part of it. Once leadership, and
coach's son there. That's where that plays into it, right?
That plays into it. Where he's from is only about 20 minutes outside of Athens. I believe the Airbnb we stayed at last time we were there, it was technically in Bogart. So it's stone's throw away from Athens. So when he was a high school recruit, he just hosted all the kids for visits, and then during breaks he would have him out hunting, fishing, doing all the outdoorsy stuff. So there's no sort of you aren't hearing any red flags whatsoever from that aspect. My one concern, for our own status, is that I'm more worried about the interviewing skills, because Georgia don't put any of those guys in front of a mic. So
who knows what we're getting behind the mic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I have no clue. But that doesn't matter if you're good. If you're good, you sound a lot better. That's what Tom Leach taught me.
No doubt, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You could be the best talker in the world, but if your defense can't get stops or you can't score points, no one's really going to care what you have to say behind the microphone. So that is true. Tom is right on that point. And the opinions could change on him early, but there's the pics with him, the long hair flowing out of the back of his helmet.
Love the lettuce.
Which people would love. I don't know if that's coming back or not. That's something we'll have to ask him when we finally get to talk to him. But he's going to be a guy that's going to get on campus here for spring semester.
Yeah.
And so after the bowl game, they'll have a media availability where we can go kind of talk to him and whatever other transfers they get in here, which was important to get him right now because there's a big recruiting weekend coming up, and they need to find a receiver or two. They need to find a running back, a starting caliber running back.
Yeah, which, as you alluded to, that they've been fewer and far between. So Brock is graduating this year. He's going to have 2 years of eligibility. That commencement ceremony, I just looked up, is next week. So he's probably, I would imagine, I haven't got it confirmed, I would imagine he's going to visit this weekend. Another chance for him to recruit some guys. I know they got some receivers, some other guys coming into town. So that could be significant. I know we kind of gloss over it because it's just recruiting rankings, but highest ranked recruit in the internet era is what Vandagriff would be. They've never had anybody. Keontae Goodwin was up there at one point, but they've never had a top 25 overall recruit, right? They've had a couple 5 stars who were fringe, but this would be the highest ranked player ever. So, you know, there's part of this like it where I know some people are watching, they're tuning in. It's like, well, Devin Leary, he was the highest ranked quarterback in the portal last year, and look what happened there. So there is a chance that it doesn't work out, but the ceiling is incredibly high. The traits are there. Recruiting rankings, they aren't perfect, but they're pretty darn close a lot of the time. So you got to feel good about Kentucky's chances here if they can get the right pieces around him. And I think an aspect, obviously Nill's going to play a factor. Cohen's going to play a factor. I also think having 4 returning offensive linemen back, it plays a factor as well.
Yeah, I think you're right in there. And I will say QB recruiting is a crapshoot, right? I mean, the 5 stars aren't, it's not, the hit rate's not the same as they are like edge players or some defensive players at quarterback. There is a lot of evaluation misses there because you never know because the position is so upstairs with, and guys I think develop at different speeds. But you can't deny the skill set with Vandagriff. And Carson Beck is a first-round quarterback, Nick.
Yeah,
Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships.
He got a start this year, didn't he, for the Rams?
I don't know if he's even – he got in trouble or something in the offseason, so I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, he had they're going to build him a statue down there in Athens. Like if he's going to build a bar on Clayton Street and it'll be the most popular probably establishment down there. I mean, he had the most a movie type of career. And then Beck's going to be a first-round draft pick, and he's probably coming back next year. And when we go to the combine in the draft to cover Deion Walker potentially down the road, Carson Beck could end up being a top 5 pick in that draft. I mean, that's where Georgia is right down there with him. So Vandagriff, where does he fall? That's something we're going to have to find out. But I do think Kentucky and Liam Cohen like that the 2-year track. Similar to the Will Levis mold. I think they like that. An inexperienced quarterback that they can get their hands on and mold, where Leary was more kind of established in his career. Where there was he kind of who is what he was what he was or is what he is.
Yeah.
And they're going to get a chance to mold this guy a little bit more along with Cutter Boley and Stone Saunders. When they get in there, and then figuring out what they want to be on offense. We talked this year about who are they, identity, what are they, and they've already admitted to that they're going to look to make some changes, and the Vandagriffs are going to be a big part of all of that, establishing who they want to be, what they want to do on offense, and getting in the fold early and building this transfer class is going to be important because you're already starting to see some movement, right? I mean, look, that quarterback room, we still don't know what's going on with Deuce Hogan. But it's got 2 players in it right now, Brock Vandagriff and Cutter Boley.
Yeah.
And so that's your guy. That's who you're hanging your hat on, and you got to get him in here and figure out who you want to be and what you want to do. But he's got a skill set, like we talked about, that I think they're going to be able to do some things. Like zone read football might be returning to Kroger Field. Like that's something I think he's going to be able to do. More RPO type stuff I think you're going to see from Kentucky coming up this year as well with the pro concepts that they want to use.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future of the offense because some changes, some alterations will be coming with highly sought after prospect, one of the most talented guys that Kentucky could get in the transfer portal this year with 2 years of eligibility. So whatever we see this fall, too, you got to think it might only just be the beginning for Brock Vandagriff at Kentucky. But the Cats, they got a good one. We've got more to write about. We've got more to talk about. We are going to have another edition of 11 Personnel live tonight at 8 p.m. So if you need more Brock Vandagriff talk, we're going to have that much more happening around the transfer portal. Coaches are staying. There's a lot happening around the world of Kentucky football.